So this is Neil DeGrope. Tyson is anti-science. Now it's not about his gropiness or his penchant for drugging people so we can grope them, or about how gropey his gropey fingers are when he waves his arms around trying to make his points about the universe. And speaking of groping the universe, a lot of what space.com reports on isn't science at all. It's actually just uh, space porn or space erotica. If you don't believe me, let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll go with outer space. I don't want to read all the headlines, but there are a number of headlines that you can see that there are. I mean, it's just disgusting. I mean, really. I almost don't want to draw any attention to it, but this is science. These are headlines. Uh, Uranus has experienced a colossal pounding from IFL Science. Metro.co. Something huge and hard went into Uranus, and it got messy. Metro.co again. I mean, this is horrible. Something huge went into Uranus and left it ruined. Uranus has experienced a colossal pounding more frequently than thought. Takes a pounding more frequently than thought. Anyway, this is just a sampling. You can go to space.com, you find it's space porn, space core. I don't know what you call it. Here's Bill Nye, Mr. Sex Junk, who hired Rachel Bloom to sing his pervert anthem. Rachel Bloom herself promoting pedophilia on her video F Me, Ray Bradbury. Disgusting video, disgusting person, disgusting song. This doesn't have anything to do necessarily with, like, I'm not trying to impugn Neil deGrasse Tyson's great work in advancing human understanding and knowledge. I don't want to take that away from him just because he's a slimy, gropey, rapey guy. I'm just trying to figure out what Neil deGrasse Tyson's contributions to the sum of human knowledge actually are. What are his contributions? So, as I was saying earlier, it seems like, if anything, he was put out here to darken our understanding of the scientific method and replace it with science by consensus. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Grab asteroid. No, we're focusing right now not on. There we go. Here we go. Heliocentric. Neil deGrape Tyson. We've had these for months, almost a year actually. Seems like these types of accusations, these types of allegations have a way of just not making it to the forefront, unless, it's convenient. So, Neil was very convenient for the system to help be the pitch man for exoplanets. Now that they don't need him anymore, I guess they can go ahead and let his skeletons out or not openly cover up for it, because we all knew. Like, I was afraid for Stephen Colbert when, I don't know if you saw it, but Stephen Colbert and Neil deGrasse Tyson were in the back. I'll show you. They were in the back of a Mars rover. And while they were in there, they were talking about their weight and how, the weights would be different on Mars or whatever. And Colbert said to him, you're really good at estimating weight. And Neil says, well, I'm used to being a wrestler and I'm really good at feeling people up and knowing what their weight is. And, he did say he likes to grope people. And I felt scared for Stephen Colbert getting into that vehicle. I was like, don't sit too close to him. Don't let him lock it. Don't get locked in that thing. And I'll show you what I mean. This is Neil and Stephen Colbert. Now, Stephen Colbert also, it's worth noting, he got an award. He got a patch. He got all sorts of things. He got a Stephen Colbert ISS patch because he's so instrumental in reaching the youth with this particular type of mindfuckery. They also named the treadmill on the space station after Stephen Colbert. So here we go. If this rover is a rockin', don't come a knockin'. It actually says that on that sign. Oh, never mind. If rover is rockin', someone is analyzing rocks, which isn't much better. So then you have Neil, this icon, this idol, and here they are getting into the back of the Mars rover. Now I don't have the sound on, but here you can see Neil brings his hands out and starts waving them around, and they talk about groping. I don't want to get too off topic here, but I just want to know, you know, what are Neil's contributions to science? I would label him as anti-science. He's a propagandist and a shameless shill, and it's interesting that he's being dropped by Star Talk and Nat Geo. And of course, the only reason it's of interest to us is it's just a curious thing. You have an adversary in a debate, and what better form of ad hominem than this, attacking their character? Because nobody wants to listen to someone who, and here's what makes me second guess the guy. It's not about scandal. It's about the nature of the types of behaviors he's been in would lead me to think that here's somebody who's probably compromised, blackmailed. He's probably not his own person. To be so flippant about this type of thing too shows that maybe he exists in a world where that is how you roll. It's like the guy thinks he's a rock star on TV. He's adulated within his group, but people outside it may not feel the same way. Now listen to this. They decided to drop him, and I'm only bringing this up not that it advances any arguments or anything like that, but if you had any hope that Neil deGrasse Tyson was going to come out someday and debate Eric Dubay and for once just put an end to the debate, if you thought that debate was going to happen at some point, it's not. This character is now toxic, and he's not going to really be, I don't think, a voice against FE because this is quite a weapon to throw back. Not that it attacks his arguments, but that's kind of my point. The guy makes no arguments. And what his podcast has been about, and this is why I call him a propagandist, is science and pop culture. His job is to make sure you believe the sky is falling. And that's another thing. We're talking about hypocrites, about the climate science or so-called science, climate pseudoscience, and its priesthood selling indulgences. You don't find many hypocrites on the scale of an Al Gore. And to find another climate doomsday, well, he's a doomsayer, but he's not only a doomsday prophet, but Neil's also like a positive spin, like a good face. They use him to sell us on global warming and climate change. So, that's ultimately what he is. He's a salesman. He's a pitchman for the technocrats. Same with Musk. Elon Musk is a pitchman for the technocrats. And they're all phony as hell. If you think Elon Musk smoked pot for the first time with Joe during a podcast, you're deceived. The guy probably snorts lines of adrenochrome every morning. I mean, this guy's a billionaire. He's not new to Vice. But they had to put it out there because they're still working on archetypes. So Joe's the cool jock everybody likes, most popular YouTube channel, or rather Apple iTunes podcast. And then you got the nerd, the brainiac, the awkward guy. And then he gets stoned, and this is all just marketing. Okay, so Vice, Space, and Fox are covering it. What's going to happen with this Twitter? Is he going to retreat? Because he just came out with a new book called Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, Death by Black Hole. Now, another indicator to see where somebody is at or how they're being viewed is to look at the memes that are popping up. So you'll see how they raise these idols up, but they're ready to bring them down. You know where we haven't seen them yet? I haven't seen him on the National Enquirer. So I'm looking in the last 24 hours, and we'll see if they start giving him the Cosby treatment, where every picture suddenly looks creepy. Like I see this one, not surprisingly, Huffington Post. Now the pictures you're going to see are going to be increasingly, and this is a prediction, increasingly less and less flattering. They might focus on pictures where he looks tired, inebriated. Oh, look at this one. Open image. This is from Yahoo. Now remember, this is the media and how they construct reality. And so look at these pictures. This is Yahoo News doing this to him. Out of all the pictures, they're not going to his headshots. They're not looking for a picture that sells the guy as this cool scientist. Now they're bringing out the pictures where, oh no, Neil deGrasse Tyson pulled amidst a conduct probe. You see where they're going with that? Look at that. Would you get in the back of a Mars rover with that face? A guy with that face? Nah. Looks like he needs some, I don't know. Looks like he needs embalming. But this, like, what does that look like? Very, very creepy. So they're tearing down this idol. Don't expect him to bounce back. Not after this, and not after, I mean, look who has their sights on him. That's from Huffington Post. You know, they're selecting these pictures where he looks ragged. I bet I bet it's worse than I almost suspect it's worse than we think. Just because of how quietly how it's going away. No resistance, no fighting, no defense. It's not as bad as that Kevin Spacey thing. And that Kevin Spacey thing really got to me. It got me to think for a minute there. I'm like, this guy was such a creep in that movie Seven. Then you find out he was actually a creep. So was that good acting? Or did we just see some overpaid creep being himself on a movie about a weirdo who chops people's heads off? So who's going to replace Neil as the next cool scientist, as the next quirky, eccentric genius? And I was watching a documentary about Einstein, and if you look at the two, I think they were playing on the same type of archetype. And hopefully we can make Neil DeGrope Tyson stick, because I think we came up with that last year. And if you have memes, just keep dropping them. I got stuck on that one. For Neil and Bill, every day is a no-brainer. So, if you have any questions as to why they would put so much effort into celebrities and opinion shaping over actual scientific methodology, it's because, actual science would contradict a lot of what pseudoscience is pushing. So now they're trying to make it about the cool belief system, not about being factually correct or reasonable or logical. There you go, Einstein. And it's totally about the celebrity. It's about creating an icon and then making arguments from that icon. That's what I noticed last night in the documentary I was watching about Albert Einstein. Is they would talk about how brilliant he was, how he could picture these things in his head with such clarity, how he could do thought experiments and understand things that we couldn't understand. So it becomes an idol that they treat as a source, as an authority. They make arguments from it. So I'm just taking this opportunity, I guess. This isn't Schadenfreude. I'm not happy because obviously people got victimized. So I'm certainly not happy about this, but I'm happy to help tear down an idol who has way too much influence. Anytime Joe Rogan would get stumped by the F word, what would he do? He would call in Neil. Hey, Neil, you're the expert in this area. Tell me what to think. So who is he going to call it now? Who is going to be Joe Rogan's go-to guy? McHugh Kaku? Bill Nye? Like, who is he going to call when he has when he's stumped? Now this is good. Yes, talking into a fake microphone. The real mic is on my shirt. When he dropped the mic, it was meant to be, I guess, cool and hip. Like, look at me, I'm the cool scientist. I'll just take a moment and put you all in your place. It didn't work. The guy doesn't even know the curvature formula of the Earth. Somebody asked him. They said, "Hey Neil, what's the curvature formula of the Earth?" And he said, "Oh, the gravity drop." What's gravity drop? Okay, so let's continue. We're just going through a couple of old memes. As you can see here, we had looked at this character a while ago, and I called him out then as just someone whose apparent job it is to convince you that science is agreeing with scientists and the right ones. All right, it looks like how long? We are 16 minutes into this podcast. I should probably delete it because we've got the haters out there. They will be flagging this. They're gonna be telling. So if you're one of my haters, you might want to tell the authoritarians I've been on longer than 15 minutes. Shut me down. And this will be on infiniteplainradio.com. I will. He does kiss it. He kisses that thing. And this is time. Now kiss it, Neil. It's probably an actual like dance move. It's called the DeGrasse. So you walk through the disco, shuffling and then twisting, and then bam, your hand flips, grab, and pull back. Gropes like 30 rumps a night. He's like, it's all in the wrist. And then you can turn a grab into a slap, just like this. Tricked out eyebrows, pointed at the top. It looks very devilish. Definitely, though, a nod to Captain Spock. And Shatner was pissed when some flat earthers used him in a meme where he said, "Don't science me, bro. I know the earth is flat." He was not happy about being memed with flat earth, if you remember. Like, he was insulted by it. And of course, Star Trek, propaganda culture, pop culture, influencing people and how they see science. Oh, yeah, Musk's spaceship is now called a starship.